So let's think about this. 10 years ago, now it's 2021. The apocalypse is over-ish. So it was 2011. In 2011, we were using float-based layout. We were just starting to use JavaScript animations. We still didn't know what SVG was, and we still didn't know how to use media responsively on the web. So you had humongous images and you had humongous videos and all this media getting piped over to the user. You had layouts that would collapse and fall apart, and then you had the beginnings of animation and trying to get all of this to work cohesively and responsively and smartly. It was a Wild West. And what made it even more difficult was that none of the browsers at the time were on the same page. So you had Internet Explorer that this is the way that it's always been, and we're gonna make sure it stays that way, and the user base will stick with us. And then you had Chrome that was just shooting off into the future and leaving everyone else behind, and then everybody else fell in the middle. And there was no coordination, there was really no standards or expectations at that time, because everybody was at that time really competing for market share. And so it was just crazy. You fast forward now to 10 years, if we want to talk about that, we've gone through and come back to what I feel is kind of a similar place, but with different specifications and features of the web. So in that time, we got the Flex and Grid layouts, the Flex and Grid specifications that allow us to build layouts that are really smart, really performant, and useful in development for the building of websites. And we have support across all browsers for that. So we're not using this float-based layout anymore that was literally like a Jenga tower. You took out the wrong block and the whole thing could collapse on itself. Now you have a resilient platform in Flex and Grid that we can use to be able to do a lot of creative layouts and a lot of creative designs that we weren't easily able to before. So that's been awesome. We figured out SVG, and we've also expanded the technologies there. We have filters available to us. We have vector graphics, and we have animations that are really easy and intuitive to use with the SVG language and that, or specification, and that allows us to really harness the ability to create interactive and engaging experiences, and also performant experiences where you have these vector graphics that in the past you had to use other technologies that were bloated and not appropriate for the web, but we used them because that's what we had to use. And now we're able to convey the same information visually with a small fraction of the data that would have been required in the past. So we have those things going for us. And over the past 10 years, we've seen the browsers at least find their niches and understand, at least for now, what their market share is, and they've all agreed on a lot of the same things. We now have a standard expected deployment of versions in all browsers. We now have the evergreen browsers. In the past, you didn't get a new browser version unless you literally bought a new computer. Now it happens every time they push out a new version. You can update your browser and everything stays up to date. You don't have a user base in the web that's splayed out across all these different versions, and you're having to support all this different technology that's supported in varying ways, it's pretty standardized right now. And over the last, I would say 3 to 4 years, you've had this golden era for front-end development where, in the sense that all browsers supported the same things. You've had some issues, but nothing like we used to have. And so it's given front-end development kind of this space to have some breathing room and realize what are we, what are we trying to accomplish? What do users want? And now that we have these tools that we were clamoring for years and years and years, what tools do we ask for now? Are we using these tools in the best way that we can? And what is that going to look like for the future of the industry? You also, I haven't even touched this. So over the last 10 years, we have seen front-end development go from an afterthought, really, getting a small portion of projects, to now becoming front and center, some of the most important pieces of a project's lifetime. You have all this interaction and all of this behavior and functionality that clients are wanting to share with their users that it just wasn't expected in the past. You had your standard page, you filled out inputs, you clicked submit, the page would load and give you the results. Now we have all these frameworks that have created a trend where everything is supposed to happen asynchronously, and you're supposed to be pulling in data from all these different endpoints, and users are now expecting that. They don't want to send you information out into the void and then just get a response as if it was dropped off and there's nobody there to help explain things. Now they want the web page or the app or whatever it is, they want it to tell them, hey, we're working on your request and we're giving you feedback, letting you know that you did everything well and that we're just waiting on the processing. Oh, and by the way, here's this data that you've been waiting for, and here is that displayed so that you can see and give feedback for any other changes that you want to do. So you have this now asynchronous multi-thread experience that the user is now expecting, and everything is needing to be managed within the front-end dev, within the UI UX in a way that makes sense and is organized and cohesive for the user.